Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. I'm Sara Jane, and this is Thoughtful Nuggets and Pearls on Gift of Healing TV. And as you can see, I have been joined by a very special guest this evening, Melanie Pledger. Mel, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It's a real pleasure to have you back. Have you muted yourself? Because I can't hear you. Oh no, I don't believe this, ladies and gentlemen. We've gone live. We've just been having a wonderful conversation. And for whatever reason, Mel's mic's not working. Can you hear me? Oh, good. I can't hear you. This is really peculiar, ladies and gentlemen. What's the universe playing at? So something about, yeah. Can I make a suggestion? We're live. Can you come out and come back in again? That's all I can think of. Otherwise, because I can't hear you. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, those of you that are listening, if you sign out, come back in again. And folks, were you able to hear Mel? Because that would be really interesting to hear from you if you were able to, because seriously, we were having a great conversation before we went live, and we were definitely hearing each other. And I do love technology. I do love the universe and the things it does. Gabriel, excellent. You able to get in? I take it's the same Gabriel that was on Facebook having problems earlier. And now can you hear me? Judith, no, I can hear you, but not Mel. Right, fingers crossed that Mel coming back in will bring us, no, couldn't hear Mel. Thank you, Barbara, and Judith. That's brilliant. Right, Mel's hopefully on her way back in. Oh, yes, okay, that's brilliant, Gabriel. Excellent. Oh, that sounds like I can hear you.
How's that?
Yes!
Hurrah, we did magic.
And Gabriel's got in as well.
Oh, hello! Fabulous.
We've got Sharon, Chris, Gabriel, Barbara, Judith, Emma.
Hello, everyone.
So, hello, folks, and thank you. Right. So, this evening's programme.
Now we're back online. Now the universe tried to shut me up. It's like, no, I'm not being quiet anymore.
Hasn't worked. So, this evening's programme, Intuition and SQ, Whole Being Intelligence. Can I start by just saying to you, because this was your choice, because you agreed to come and join me, which is brilliant. This was your choice of topic, and I'm really pleased about that. But for those people who may not understand what SQ is, could you just give us a tiny little overview of SQ?
With pleasure, yes. And because I was quiet, I was muted and didn't know, I would like to say again, thank you so much for inviting me here. It was ages ago that we played before, so I'm really thrilled to be doing this with you again. So thank you.
My pleasure.
So SQ. I'm going to point actually, because that's probably the easiest. So IQ is here. We know what this is. This is the thinking. This is the logic. This is the analytical stuff like that. EQ, emotional, is here. And this is where we have the empathy. This is where we have caring, connecting with other people. This is the feeling part. The SQ part, I have no idea how to show you. I want them to stand up, is right here. Right here in the very core of who we are. This is beyond logic. This is beyond feeling. This is this just knowing. It's knowing. And people call it different things. It can be intuition, gut instinct, that inner voice, that core. That's something that all of us are familiar with, and most of us have forgotten how to connect with. And pretty much all of us don't know how to do it on a regular basis. Does that answer your question?
It does beautifully. And I was thinking about this earlier, and I was thinking the there were occasions where I was reading Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh.
Love that
And
book.
there were occasions reading that, there were some things that were said, and I just felt I was reading the answer that totally, for me, was the yes. I just felt it in the core of my being. It was an absolute knowing. And one of the other times I felt that was, might sound really strange, but reading Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
And I was raised a Catholic. And when it talked about Jesus was married to Mary Magdalene, and I knew that. I knew the truth of that. There was just no, I know I'm saying doubt in my mind, that because of that feeling, there really was no doubt in my mind.
Exactly. And that's what an intuition is. And there's much talk, many books, many mysteries and mysticisms about it all, and that it's used in things like finding out, as you've just said, your experience with Mary Magdalene. It's also, though, incredibly practical. Incredibly practical. You know, it's like absolutely knowing whether I'm going to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Except I might be deciding I'm having a cup of coffee. My mind goes, well, hang on, it's 8 o'clock at night. Do you really reckon you do that? I know it. And this is the right choice that's right for me in the moment. We were talking about that earlier on. So it's right for me in the moment, not to do with my thinking part that might be trying to tell me that what I know is right for me actually is not, because society says, or because I have learned that, or I've been habituated into doing things a certain way. So this knowing, this absolutely knowing how to connect and how to listen and how bit by bit to trust, for me, has been so incredibly freeing and liberating and extraordinary, and consistently growing, constantly, and constant surprises. You've read loads of books and stuff like me as well. I know through all the conversations that we've had. You know those people who say, life isn't a destination, it's a journey. That used to really annoy me. No, it did.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Anyone who knows me, I'm quite get this done now sort of a person. Patience doesn't normally go in the same sentence as pleasure. And by tapping into, reconnecting with, that's the word, by reconnecting with this incredible resource that's within, not just me, everybody, we all have this. And by tapping in, I knew, you talked beautifully about the knowing. I knew for the first time that there was nothing wrong with me. Despite my history, I had never been broken. I was always, and am still, perfect, whole, and complete.
Yes.
And this is the freeing thing. I got off I've got to heal myself, I've got to make things better track that got me stuck into the positive thinking brigade. And, I must do better, and I better do that, and it takes more work. Constantly pushing down or listening and looking in places for what was already here. And now connected and knowing on a day-by-day, moment-by-moment basis that not only is there nothing wrong with me and that I'm perfect, whole and complete as it is, the fact is this is a journey. It's not a journey, though, to wholeness or completeness, because we already are that. It's a journey of creation, of expansion, of growth, of connection, which is exactly, again, what you and I were talking about earlier.
Oh, absolutely. For me, we are born perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It is life that can sometimes make us detach aspects of ourselves, because especially if you are a people pleaser the way I used to be, it's no, I'll please myself. I'll try never to hurt anybody else, but I'm going to please myself now. I spent 40 odd years pleasing everybody else and not me. And it is. And then it was just like, right, I've reconnected. If maybe not with all of them, but with most of them. And I am who I am. When somebody used to say, I know who I am and I like who I am, I couldn't get that. I could never understand that.
Well, no, because it's like, well, who am I in this moment? Am I mother? Am I wife? Am I employee? Who am I? That's all that stuff.
Yeah.
Did you ever read, is it The Water Babies?
No, I don't think I did.
Well, I didn't after a while because I got annoyed with it, even as a child. That was this. I remember being told it's about this do as you would be done by, Mrs. Do as you would be done by. Somebody's gonna correct me on this because I'm sure I've misquoted it. And this, Sarah, this is what's drummed into us.
Yeah.
With all the best intentions.
Yes.
It's drummed into us that we do as we must be done by, put other people first, walk 1,000 miles in somebody else's moccasins. I mean, you name it, the advice is out there. Now, it's nonsense. You and I know this.
Yeah.
We know this because, and we've been taught even more that if we do put ourselves first, that's somehow being big-headed or selfish. Don't get too big for your boots. Well, why would you say that to a child, for goodness sake? If it doesn't get bigger than the boots it's on, it's not going to grow. Don't blow your own trumpet. Well, I'm not going to blow anybody else's. Do you know what I mean? And yet we're told, stop that, that's wrong, which essentially is telling us we're not enough. Our intuition, our SQ, knows that that's not true. And yet every time we say, no, not listening, no, not absolutely not listening, then it gets quieter and quieter and quieter. It's really simple in the days when we used to be able to go on aeroplanes. Do you remember those days? The health and safety explanation says oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
Before your small child. And nobody says, well, no, we can't do that actually, because that's actually a bit selfish.
Yeah.
No. Do we? We go, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Because it's factual, it's logical. So if that's so factual and logical, then surely tapping in to SQ and listening to self first is also logical. And we've been taught counterintuitively to believe that that's incorrect.
Oh, absolutely. We are not taught to love ourselves. And that is the place we should all start.
Oh, I'm going to play with you here. You did say we were allowed to disagree. Come on.
Absolutely.
Come on. Is it that we're not taught to love ourselves? Because I fundamentally believe we already do. A little baby doesn't put its hand in its nappy and go, oh, that's shit, that's awful. It goes, like it's mine. So I believe we're born loving and accepting ourselves and all that stuff. We're taught to deny it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So
all right. We're not allowed to love ourselves.
Yes.
We're taught that it is not okay to think of ourselves first, and that includes loving ourselves.
Yes. And it's nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Favourite word of mine. I'm not swearing today, and it isn't swearing, and I'm still not saying it anyway. It's on the blog bit.
Yeah. But every single one of us is special in our own unique, amazing way. And when we listen to ourselves, there are times when, bang, there's something in my head, and actually it's in my head, but it's just like, oh, yeah, no, I like that. That feels right. But how many times somebody says something and you go, oh, I'd love to do that. And the mind kicks in. What about this? What about the other? What about? And you've talked yourself out of it before you've really completed the thought. And so there are times, and I do, if I go into
I know you do, Sarah. You do it all the time.
I get this out and I ask my dowsing pendulum.
Yes.
And I get my yeses and my nos. And there are times when it really surprised me. But do you know what? That is just my connection to my intuition, gut instinct, inspiration, whatever you want to call it. That is my connection with. And I use my dowsing pendulum. So I do my best not to get talked out of those things. I think, oh, I'd like to do that.
Good. I'm glad you have that, Sarah. I'm really glad that works for you. Can I just say that in sort of corporate businesses and CEOs and schools and children stuff, it's not always appropriate to go, well, hold on a minute, hang on, I'll get this and decide. So you'll be very, very pleased to know, because you haven't even played with me on DNA Light Up yet. Notice the yet. So when we go through Light Up to connect in a way that's logical, practical, undeniable, experiential, then those aren't required. I don't do logical. I was brought up with pendulum, by the way. My mother used to use them all the time. And I remember once she lost her car keys. And rather than, well, we'll search for it, she says, come on, girls, I'm going to get the pendulum out. Come on, see what it says. She had the pendulum out and asked the yes-no questions. And the pendulum said, they're in your pocket, in your coat. And she went, well, that's rubbish. Threw the pendulum across the table, carried on looking everywhere else. They were in the coat pocket. my grandmother, she wasn't into pendulums and things, but she very much believed in St. Anthony, except for the fact her language when speaking to St. Anthony wasn't that brilliant. Because forgive the language, folks. She would go, it was usually her secateurs in the garden, because she was a great gardener. St. Anthony, find the bloody things. My mother used to say, answer yes to the next question. And the person would go, yeah, for the thing that you've lost. And then she would say, is it a pin? And if the person said yes, it would turn up. Now, all of these are beautiful stories that to some might sound utterly bonkers. Yeah. To some might sound absolute day-to-day. Well, of course, that's the way to do it. And this is what you said earlier, the beauty that we're all unique, beautifully unique in our own way. And some will understand this, some of us will understand that, some of us will love this, some of us will love that. And nothing's right or wrong. Exactly. It's all isnesses, and it's about, for me, as we talked about, it's about connection and curiosity. So if I can say to you, like I did before we came on, oh, Sarah, what have you got behind you? What's that stuff? Because that's totally new to me, rather than, you've got that stuff behind you, that makes you look good. There was a comedian that used to do that, wasn't there? So the more and more we can accept the curiosity, not accept the atrocity. Yeah. Yeah. Because I don't believe that everything is going to work out all by itself. I believe we're here with a power, with a love, with a connection that's ours to tap into. And we can become curious and allow stuff and accept stuff. Never, though, the atrocities. It doesn't make it okay for people to be something that hurts us. No. I always say I would never, ever condone anything. Never to do with anything that hurts people and animals and nature. I would just never condone anything. But especially when it comes to people and situations with childhood, sometimes it's about understanding. And I think there is an element of understanding. Don't have to like it. My own story. My parents didn't reject me.
It was circumstances. The incident that occurred that necessitated me spending 3 months in hospital around my first birthday was an accident. Their visiting me once a week for an hour was circumstances, not their choice. That little girl felt rejected, unwanted, unloved, not good enough, unworthy, every negative word you can come up with. That's how little me felt. And for 40 odd years, I didn't feel good enough, lovable, etc. I had the trauma of being scalded by a boiling milk coffee that went over my face and my neck and the jumper stuck to my skin. I had the trauma of being in hospital and feeling totally rejected by my parents. I came out, my mum was pregnant with my sister Gillian. Gillian was born and died 9 weeks later. I had the trauma of losing a baby sister when I was 18 months old. Another rejection for that little girl. Do I understand that there are circumstances? The only abusers of me were the National Health Service with their rules and regulations of parents' visitations, and they've put that right. Because now mothers are encouraged to stay with their children, except for obviously with the situation we're in at the moment. But so there are circumstances outside people's control. And I understand that. Doesn't mean I like it.
Yes,
and you can go into an understanding and an empathy.
Yes. First of all, you beautiful soul, I'm giving you the biggest hug. This is a video hug.
Thank you.
You're gorgeous.
But our story is what helps us be who we are.
Good. So can I share something with you?
Yes.
You've inspired me because, hang on, before doing that, what I was talking about with the atrocity is, I mean, I have a lot of experience with sociopathy, for example, and abusive people. I've a lot of the people that I've worked with have that as well as I have. And we get, many of us, buy into the idea of it's them first. If I just love them a bit more, they'll be nicer. If I just do this, it's a bit more, they'll be nicer. That's the bit where I'm saying absolutely no. And again, tapping into intuition will be able to do that. That's the no bit.
Yeah.
Where there's a story that has caused us pain, then this is where we can shift it, as you've so beautifully said. And I'd love to share this. Sharon Bott and I were playing with this on a video. We ended up in hysterics, by the way. So if that happens, forgive me in advance. So put your finger up. Go on, do it with me. Good. No, up above you. Yeah. Then look at your finger. Good. Now turn it round in a clockwise motion. Clockwise, Sarah. Clockwise. Go on, up. Clockwise. You can do it anti-clockwise if you like. It doesn't matter. Notice the direction it's going there in though. Go on, pay attention.
I can't work out. We just clock. That's clockwise.
Well, do it one way then. Can you manage to do it one way, not doing it two ways? Can you do that? Go, come on. Yeah. Good. Right, keep it going that same way, whatever that is, and bring it down in front of your eyes. Yeah, and then bring it underneath. And then look at it, and now notice which direction it's going.
Same way I thought it was going.
Check it. Go this way. That's it. Good. Now, watch.
Still going the same way for me.
Do you know your left from your right?
No.
Well, actually, you'll find what happens is when you play with this again, and you'll be doing this now to go, what? Up that way, round and round, and round and round the other way. It goes the other way.
I'll play with that.
You play with that. The point is, though, as you have so beautifully demonstrated, is that the direction itself doesn't change. So the external doesn't change. It's just how we look at it.
Yeah.
And so the tongue twister that Sharon and I struggled with so much, and Sharon, you're going to be proud of me because I'm going to say it, is that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change.
I love it.
Do you like it? Go on, you are. You're going to be doing this. You will.
So is everybody else watching? I hope you were all doing it at the same time.
So do I.
Alison has actually said, I was brought up with a mother and a crystal. I've now got my own inside me. I'm assuming she's referring to the crystal and not the mother.
You're full of surprises, you are. Love it. Yes, it would be the jewel inside. So I suspect she's talking about reconnecting with SQ, intuition. These beautiful jewels that are inside.
And it is about listening. And I suppose when you've had the pleasure of feeling that knowing, okay, you're brought up in a religion or whatever, and it's a belief because you are taught to just believe. You know, you don't get to see. It was sort of like Mother Mary's is Jesus' mother and God was his father. And you believe that. You don't know it. You just believe it. But I feel that with the knowing, the belief is already within the knowing. Knowing for me is so much stronger than just believing.
Absolutely, because belief could also be called other things, like indoctrination and things like that. Don't get me on that one. We've only got 2 minutes left. Knowing, though, is a knowing. And the belief is kind of secondary. Yeah. We get caught into thinking things through and then creating beliefs. Yeah. And if we do that without, first of all, connecting with the knowing, then we go off track. And that's how so many people feel so lost.
Yeah.
Because, again, we're taught to look externally.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. And belief is not everything.
No, it's not. Alison has said, yes, the crystal, my mother wouldn't fit.
Go on, Alison. Thanks for clarifying. Alison, Sarah does ask funny questions. It's always a hoot. We never know what's going to come out.
Sarah doesn't know what's going to come out, so don't worry about it.
Come out either. Neither does your fluffy animal family behind you, who I find fascinating too.
I've adopted, over the last few years, I've adopted animals through the WWF, and you get a cuddly toy. So behind me, I've got about 10 or 12 of those, plus I've got my area, because I connect with the mythical realm. And so I've got many mythical beings in little statue form up behind me as well. So it's my magic corner. So right behind me, feeding up angels all around this room. So it is. So let's get back on track. We're running out of time.
We did say we didn't know where this was going to go. Isn't it delicious?
And that's the joy of this. And as you were saying, as I said before we started, this is about giving people food for thought and little pearls of wisdom, hopefully, and the fact that we've been able to do it with humour. Is
it food for thought? Come on. Play with me again. Are we human thinkings? Are we?
No, we're human beings.
We're human beings. So perhaps it's food for our soul. Soul food. Intuition food.
Well, what I could do, if you like, and then nobody's going to understand a word of it, including me. Okay. But I have discovered that I speak what some people call light language. And what I refer to as being our soul language. And so our ears and our mind do not understand, but our heart and our soul does. So would you like a little message in what I refer to as soul language?
Love it.
For your soul and your heart. Mel's saying yes on behalf of all of you.
Yes, please.
So if you would like to just relax, eyes closed, and let the energy of this wash over you. Kim nore kacha entea kamoran taliiki. Mere ashte ila. E korayashta moyina taiki. Pikara eleishta anmoyiti. Lea moncheiki. Kirei itaina areika. Lerio moche inne kapa. Kim tore kinchai inare tenitiki. Pinkure antishti ala inka. Perea naishta. Leria notori kiniara leta. Perea la kachi inia ochea. Perine kachi nuyorleana taiki. Perishti inioriata. Paika irnule arniashte. Tirenishta aka echenata. Leroika pekai chia tuneesteki. Leriniai toreakati amche te a ke ora. Namaste. How did that feel?
Gorgeous. Like stroked and held and seen and expanded and soft and strong. You are a beautiful bag full of surprises. I love chatting with you. I learn something every single time. This hasn't got the slightest idea what you said.
Exactly.
My soul, she knows.
Yeah.
And thank you. That's beautiful. I'd love a longer conversation with you on this. I know we're out of time. It's another day. I'm fascinated. Absolutely fascinated. Thank you.
I love it because our mind and our ego can't understand it. So it can't distort the message. It can't do something with it that it isn't. It can't misinterpret it. And it is totally from our soul. And as far as I'm concerned, our soul has given us that message. Each and every one that listens to this, whether live or recorded. And all I will say is that I believe, and I know it's the believe rather than know, I believe that that message fits within what we've been sharing this evening.
I believe too. And this is I've got something to say. This is a beautiful, beautiful connection. So we were talking about ego and mind getting in the way. Now, I know we can get stuck into habits, stuck into all sorts of things, or brainwashed.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We can never be soul washed.
No.
Ever. Regardless of what happens, our soul, our light, our intuition is always there, just waiting to be recognized. And thank you for recognizing mine.
Absolute pleasure. And Mel, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It has been an absolute pleasure and barrel of laughs.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's been great.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Folks, next week I'm going to be sharing a meditation. This is one I feel guided, intuition, and it's a meditation soul connection, which actually fits perfectly with what we've just been doing. Soul connection. So I hope that you will consider joining me for that next week. Even if you can't join live, the replay will always go, the videos always go up on the website, and the replay will be shared as well through social media. So please feel free to join me for that. In the meantime, everybody, please take care, be safe, stay well. Namaste to you all.
Love, love, love.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.